Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a story for you that will make you wonder and will become a part of your imagination. Its events are very, I would say, strange and beautiful. Today's story is about Bilal. Bilal was a man whose mother was from Iraq and his father was a Kuwaiti. So he was of Kuwaiti nationality. He was a young man and he was married and had a son. His wife was about to give birth to their new baby. Now, all these events took place in 1990. At this year, or on this specific year, Bilal was in Iraq. When he was in Iraq, the invasion took place in Kuwait. And he has his uncles, of course, and his family members. So he was actually there to buy a piece of land or farm. And, of course, before the 90s, lots of Kuwaitis used to own houses, farms, and lands and other things in Iraq. Well, as I said, Saddam here entered Kuwait. And since Bilal was a Kuwaiti, the situation was not very good. Means he couldn't understand that it was hard and almost impossible to get out of Iraq at that time. But he was most willing to do it for his family, and he insisted and he asked his uncle and cousins to help him get there. He was sitting for 2 to 3 months, and now he thought was the right time to go back to his family members. So his uncles and his cousins agreed to do so. They tried to take him to Saudi Arabia and they tried to get a car and get him out. But as soon as he entered, the situations here got crazy. Well, this man did not exceed 2 areas where he was planning to pass by area and area to get through Iraq to Saudi Arabia. But he didn't make it. They caught him. And then it was like a Kuwaiti. What was he doing in Iraq during the time of invasion? He told them that I have my uncles here and I have been here for a long time. But didn't matter at that time. They said, you are definitely a spy. And you're here to take information because the war is ongoing. They imprisoned him and deported him to Abu Ghraib prison, and it is a well-known prison in Iraq. 3 weeks later, he was sentenced to death, as they considered him a spy. The only thing left right now was for him to wait and watch people coming and leaving. Every day or the other, someone was being executed in the prison. It was either an Irani or a Kuwaiti or Iraqi. Well, he was trying to make out that who could help him in this situation, and he was all alone in the prison. He started talking to his fellow prisoners, and there they told him that the only way you can get out, you can get a help, maybe, is by talking to someone who is a Brigadier General Jassim. He said, and how can I get to him? They said he does visit us, but he visits us by from time to time, and it's not easy to get to him because you have to talk to the other prison commanders to actually allow you to get to him. He went to them and he said, please, I would like to talk to Brigadier General Jassim. And there's something I want to discuss with him or talk to him. And they said, just go on, just wait for your time and rest till your turn comes for the day of execution. But he knew that his psychological condition was not right and he had to do something. So he started talking about this every now and then, every day, twice or thrice, asking them, can I meet him? Please, can I meet him? Till the day came when he arrived and he was passing by and they said, there's a person who has been waiting here for weeks, waiting to talk to you. He said, who is that person? Bring that person to me. And they brought Bilal to him, to Brigadier General Jassim. And he said, sir, can I have a conversation with you? And he said, go on, talk. He said, I cannot because there are other commanders here, present here, and I would like to have a conversation just between you and me. He said, as you know, sir, that I am going to be executed and I want you to help me. I need a favor. He said, you didn't get my point. I am actually there for the time of the execution. I'll take you to the execution platform and the subject answer, this is my role. He said, I know that this is your role, but you can help me change this death sentence to life imprisonment, can you? He said, and how can I do that? And why would I do that? when you're a spy. He said, I swear I'm not a spy. And I have uncles or family members, and I have land, farms in Iraq. And if you want, I can actually give you few of my lands or farms. I mean, keep it on your name and give it to you. He said, and how can that happen? He said, it belongs to my uncles. It doesn't belong to me. I mean, I have bought them and it's nearby and it's all yours. Just change the sentence. Just change it from death sentence to life imprisonment. Can you do that for me? He said, okay, I'll see. Are you sure you own farms here? He said, yeah. So Bilal here, what was going on in his mind was that if I can get some more time, means not being sentenced to death or life imprisonment, that is, I can buy more time and stay here. And if Kuwait gets liberated, I can easily get out of here. So this was his plan. Now, Brigadier Jassim agreed to what Bilal was saying. But deep inside, and actually he knew he couldn't do anything to change the sentence. It was not in his hands. But he was exploiting Bilal. He made this plan that he would say, yes, I'll do whatever you want and just transfer the farms on my name and then I'll do whatever you want. But in reality, he couldn't do anything. But he wanted to get those benefits from Bilal himself. So he said that, why won't we leave? I mean, I'll be in charge of the prison tomorrow night and you can just change your dress into one of the military commanders or members' clothes and we'll leave for 1 week. So it would be easy to actually go and see the farm by himself, make sure this man is not lying. The next morning, Bilal and Jassim went to Bilal's uncle's house. And there he made him understand that why he was there. He said that I was sentenced to death, but this person here, who is actually the brigadier general of the prison, will help me get through this. And the only thing you have to do is just write the farms on his name. But here the brigadier general said, no, you don't have to do that. You have to write the farm or the farms on the name of my daughter, Farah. Farah was his daughter, and here the second day they went and started accumulating the papers and looked through the farm papers, and they signed the signature of justice, and which also means a ratification. And the farms were now under the name of Farah, and it was actually under a power of attorney of her father to buy and sell. The topic here was over. I mean, the subject of farm, it had been sold and that's it. But there were days left for this person, Jassim, to be in charge again for the night shift, where he could actually take him back in the prison without anyone knowing what happened. Jassim, who was a brigadier of the prison, he had a different reputation. People didn't come and ask him, who is this person with you? Who is this unusual person we are seeing for the first time? This person wearing the military clothes, which looks like a military member, but no one knows him. Well, he asked Bilal to keep quiet because somehow if he talks, they would know that he didn't belong there. Now, again, Jassim had that kind of reputation. He belonged to some specific party or some specific people where they were actually afraid to ask him anything. So Jassim here asked Bilal to ignore everyone talking to him, even if he was not the part of the military. Now, he took him back home and there were 4 days left, or 4 nights, I would say. So he had to keep him in his house for that time being. He took him to his house, which is actually a palace. It had a gate, a huge farm, a garden. He entered and he gave him one of the rooms. Of course, he kept him tied. And he asked his wife and his daughter Farah, of 20 years old, to feed him or to bring food to him. But the room was locked and he was tied. Now, as I said, Farah and her mother were responsible to bring the food and drink to the man. Because the father here, Jassim, didn't trust anyone outside. And he did have soldiers and guards outside the house, but inside he said he wouldn't trust anyone, no matter what. He also had servants, but here he did give the responsibility to his wife and his daughter. The daughter of Brigadier General was a beautiful daughter, and she had a good personality, and she was well known, and her father was also very well known. So they were very close to the family of Saddam Hussein. This girl, day by day, she just got so curious, and why would my father bring a person or bring a prisoner to home and tie him in a room of the house, which is very weird. Means if he's dangerous, he wouldn't have got him to the house or into one of the rooms. So she went on and she asked him who he was and wanted to know more about this person. And as he was devastated and he used to cry, as I said, his psychological condition and state was miserable. He explained her that he was married and had kids and family members in Kuwait, and he also explained her that why he was there in Iraq, and his mother is Iraqi. He said, your father was very helpful. He did me this favor, that an agreement between and settlement between your father and me, that he has taken the lands which belong to me, and he has written those lands on your name, and he is going to actually change my death sentence to life imprisonment, which would be a great favor. When her father came back, she said, that father, why have you kept this person in our house? And the father explained, you don't have to go to this person because he could be dangerous. Just keep the food and come back. She said, let me tell you one thing. I did go to him, and I know whatever happened to him and whatever is going to happen, what you are going to do for him. The father said that I did take his farms, but, well, this person is dead anyways. She said, what do you mean? Aren't you going to reduce the sentence from death to life? He said, no, I cannot do anything. These sentences or these rules, regulations are given by Saddam Hussein himself, not by me. The daughter here said, Dad, shame on you. You promised the man. He has kids. He has his wife and family members are waiting for him, and you promised him, and you're lying, and he doesn't even know that you're lying. Farah here had a strong personality, and we do know that girls of big families or big characters do have huge, strong personalities, and her influence to him was that, I swear by God, if you will not do as promised, I will talk to one of the daughters of Saddam Hussein, and I will tell her that you manipulated this man, you took his farms and exploited him. The father here was actually in shock. He was kind of afraid that why would his daughter do that? But she explained him that this will not happen. He will not return to the prison. You are going to do as promised, and if you don't, I will report, and I'm not afraid to do so. Jassim here was confused and wanted a solution to this huge problem that he has created by his own hands. He was confused, but his daughter here, she was smart enough. She went to her father and she said, I have an idea. See, father, there are people dying in Iraq every now and then. Why don't you get one of the bodies, take them to the prison, and say that this Kuwaiti captive has died in the prison? The father said the idea was brilliant, and he did call one of his friends or one of his colleagues and said, can you do me a favor? Do you have a new, I would say, dead body or something? He said, yes, we have a person. He's Irani, and we have his body, and we're going to bury because he has been dead for 4 days now. He said, well, put the body in the car, in the ambulance, and get to the prison, and I'll be there for my night shift. He did go there, and what they did was take the body and put it in the prison where Bilal was actually imprisoned. Now they took the body and they said, yes, this person has died, and they buried him. They made the death certificate, and everything now was clear that Bilal was dead. Everything went as planned, but Brigadier General Jassim had to go back to the prison to make sure that no one has noticed what has been happening and what he has been doing around. So he made sure that everything was okay, and at the same time, it didn't matter if Bilal returned to his family or not. The point here was that he did get benefit from this person, and that's it. But then he asked his daughter to take care of the other matters, how he will leave, how Bilal will get back to his family, and he actually trusted his daughter because till now she was the one who was actually giving the ideas and making him go through all these things so that this person can go back to his family. So what happened? Farah actually called one of the workers who were there in her house, and she said, you know what, I want you to take this person, this man, Bilal, towards the border and give him an ID. The ID was of that he was working in the house of the brigadier, and that's how people will actually allow him to go through the checkpoints. What happened here in the time where Farah was dealing with the situation was almost the end of the invasion. And that means that Iraq had more restrictions, more than ever. And if anyone could find out or would find out that there is a Kuwaiti around, of course, they'll not leave him alive. So what happened that Farah asked the person who works in his house, her house worker, I would say, that do take him towards the border, and then he can surrender himself to the origin of the Kuwaiti security towards the border. And if this doesn't happen, there is no use of you returning back over here. This man was married, the house worker was married and had kids. Farah here said to the house worker that you don't need to come back if you cannot take this man safely to his family members. He said, you have to take him back, because if you don't, you will never find your family member on the face of this world, as they'll be slaughtered. Well, the only goal of talking towards this house worker or this worker in this way was to make sure that he doesn't put Bilal into any more trouble. When she felt very sympathetic towards Bilal, she went and she opened the room and she said, you can step out. And the only thing tied here was his hands. She said, you can sit in the hall for a while. And the living room was actually very luxurious living room. He was sitting there and waiting, and he was thinking that these people have not actually taken me back to the prison, and have not only taken my farms, they have also not changed my sentence to life imprisonment. That means something bad is going to happen. That means I'm of no use right now. So maybe they'll kill me or get rid of me. I have nothing to lose. He thought I would have nothing to lose. So Bilal said I would just take this girl. His next plan was to take this girl as a hostage. So what he did, he grabbed a glass pottery and he broke the glass pottery, and he thought that he could hold the glass and take this girl as a hostage. This was his plan. So when he actually broke the glass pottery, he got injured by himself, and it was a wound. It was a very deep wound, and the blood was pouring badly. So when she came, she realized that he was bleeding, and she was actually grabbing an abaya and a scarf. Abaya is a body covering, which Muslim women wear to cover their body, and scarf on top of the head. Anyways, when she went to grab these, and then later she found him bleeding, she thought that he was about to commit suicide. She was that, you don't know what we are up to. We are actually going to get you out. Why are you giving up? She was actually crying that, why are you giving up? Why are you killing yourself? And she didn't know that this man was actually planning to hold Farah as the hostage. But she was like, she felt really bad. She was that, you don't need to commit suicide. We are just going to take you out in a matter of days or something. You will be out. You will be back to your family members. Don't worry. Whatever. Here, Bilal was in shock that he didn't know what her intentions were, and he was here thinking of holding her as a hostage and threaten her with the glass, and that was taking revenge and threatening her father. So what happened here? Well, after Farah made Bilal understand the plan and what they're going to do, she also said that you have to actually memorize a stanza or verse from a poetry. He said, why do I have to memorize poetry or a poem? She said, when you reach the border, or you know that you have reached the border, tell these lines of the poem to the worker. She said, when he arrives or when he comes back, I have to make sure that you were alive the moment he left you on the border. And this was her plan again. He said, oh, well, I will do so. Well, they left. And Bilal here was wearing a baya and a headscarf so that they wouldn't actually see him. And even if they would ask, this identification that they have is of something we call not being exposed, as they were working in the Brigadier General Jassim's house, no matter what. So they passed all the checkpoints and they reached the Iraqi-Kuwaiti border. Here he said him that you can leave and start walking towards the Kuwaiti border. Do remember, because you're walking from the Iraqi border towards the Kuwaiti border, they would arrest you. But just don't petrify, just calm down and explain them that who you are, and I'm very sure they will understand. So here, Bilal told him that you have to memorize these lines from the poem, or the stanza from a poem, and you have to say Farah, so that she knows that I have arrived safely. And that was it. He started walking towards the border, and the Kuwaiti authorities caught him, and Then he later explained that he had been in Iraq and he was actually sentenced to death, but somehow he made it through it, and that was it. After he got back, his wife had given birth to a girl and named her Maha, but he said, no, I would like to name my daughter Farah. She didn't know that he owed his life to Farah. The Farah he named his daughter to. Now, when he got back, after years, he was always in contact with his uncle and his cousins. He got the news that Farah has returned all the lands and farms which belonged to him back to his uncle. And she also was very brave enough to do so after what had happened. Now, he kept on asking every now and then, and Farah here got married, and she had a son. But later, because her husband was an officer in the army, he got killed, and other family members, even her mother, died. Luckily, her father was alive, but he got shot and was paralyzed. After giving up, she left everything and she went to her father and was living with her father. Now, Bilal knew that Farah was in very bad conditions. He got her news and he was updated by his family members every now and then. He knew that Farah had to leave her son with one of the house workers and had to send her son with money and whatever she had to the aunt's house, which was far. The reason was people were searching badly. If they know that she has a son, they wouldn't leave him alive. So she had to send her son to her aunt's house, which was far. The reason she couldn't go with her son was that her father was paralyzed. How could she move far? And if they knew that she has left too, they would go and search for her. So what was good was that to leave her son with the aunt and take care of her father. Of course, she had left the castle or the palace, which was huge, and had to go to one of the small houses her father owned because, as they said, the palace was the government property. And after what had happened in Iraq, they were left with nothing. Farah here was taking care of her father, and from being a girl from a very rich family, she became a person who was actually selling in markets used stuff. All this and more was what Jassim, the brigadier general, had to go through. And now Jassim, what happened to Jassim, Bilal was well aware of because he got the news every now and then. So he knew what Farah was going through. Now Bilal asked one of his cousins for help who was actually in Iraq. He said that I want you to go to Farah and ask her personally, go personally and ask her that if she needs anything. He said, I'll do so. He said that promise me that you will go to her, but you'll not say my other family members in Iraq or even Farah that I'm there to help her. He said, of course, I'll do so. He trusted him, so this man here went to Farah and said, aren't you the daughter of Brigadier General Jassim? She said, yes, but please don't say anyone. He said, are you okay? Is everything okay? She said, no, I'm not okay. I'm poor. I'm left with nothing and my father is on bed. He's sick and paralyzed. He said, okay, I'll give you whatever you want, whatever you need. She said, why are you helping me? He said, I know your father for a long time now and he did do me some favors and that's why I want to do something in return. So if you need anything, do tell me. He gave her cash, but she said, if you can please see or give me a suitable place to live, somewhere where I can live safely with my father. He said, sure, I have a place, a house, small house on my farm, and you can live there with your father. She still didn't understand why this man was helping, but in the state she was in, it meant a lot to her that time. Farah's son was almost 14 years old now, and Bilal was now aiming for Farah and her father to leave for their aunt's house. So he said to his cousin that, can you please handle this? Can you shift them from the village or the town they're in to the city where her aunt is? He said, sure. But when he was planning to do so, Farah's aunt has passed. She died. When Farah's aunt died, what happened here was that her uncle took his children and her son to Sweden. Now it was impossible for Farah to reach her son. But he said that you have to pay or do whatever you can. I'll send you the money. Just let her go to her son in Sweden. He said, he went to Farah and he said that Farah, I will pay for the expenses. That is almost 40,000 Kuwaiti dinars for her to go from Jordan to Sweden to her son. She was happy and excited. She couldn't believe what was happening. So she was taking the advantage of this happiness which was given her by God. When she reached to Sweden and her father, who was paralyzed, was also there, she got a call from the cousin, Bilal's cousin again. He was making sure that everything was all right and if she needed anything. Here she said, please, for goodness sake, tell me why are you helping me? He said, I'm helping you because I know your father. She said, my father doesn't know you. She said, maybe he's sick and paralyzed and he doesn't remember. It's okay. She said, no, he remembers everything except he doesn't remember you. So who are you and why are you helping me? After Farah insisting continuously, he said that give me a few days and I'll answer you. Whatever questions you're asking, I'll give you an answer to them. The cousin here immediately called Bilal and said that this woman has been crying for years to actually know why am I doing this. And she's pretty sure that this is not the reason. So can I tell her? He said, okay, fine. Do tell her that I'm the one who's sending the money and it's okay if she wants to talk to me, give her my number and that's it. When he said that I am Bilal's cousin, she was surprised. She was shocked. She said that this man, he said, don't be shocked or surprised. I mean, he owes you his life. So of course you had helped him and saved his life. How can he forget that? This is the least he think he could do. She was happy to the extent that she said, I will call him. She did call him and she was so thankful and so grateful for what he has done. He said, I have been in contact with my family members and cousins for years now to know what was happening and I know what happened to you and I feel sorry for you and I'm sorry. She said, what you have done is no one else could have done it. It's great. I mean, I'm with my son right now and this is what I needed. I just wanted to be with my son. Now here, he explained her that how life had been and he said that you have to be in contact. And if you need anything, do not hesitate. By now, she said that her uncle had given her back whatever she gave him, the gold and the money, everything. And she said, I have enough to actually return you, even if it's a small amount. He said, I don't need anything. By now, Bilal was almost 54 to 56 years old. And what happened here that the women got involved in the whole story. The story actually took a weird turn. His wife was actually in contact with the family members in Iraq. Here the woman informed his wife that your husband for 4 years is spending money from 2012, is spending money and sending money to someone or for helping someone. Do you know her? She said, helping who? She said, it's almost more than 40,000 dinars, don't you know? She said, who is my husband helping? They said, it's the lady and her name is Farah. She said, I don't think so. She said, didn't you ask yourself why did your husband, upon reaching Kuwait, change the name of your daughter to Farah? She said, is that the reason? Maybe he's old and he's making mistakes. She went to her kids, to her son and daughter, and told them that now's the time we file a case against your father. They asked, why do we need to file a case against our father? She said, he is actually sending money to someone, a stranger, I would say. And these are the papers, this is the proof. It's above 40,000 KD and he will be sending more. So why don't we file a case against him? Maybe he's getting old and forgetting and doing mistakes. So the children agreed to do so. Now, Bilal, he knew that what was happening. He knew that his wife was, they didn't have that of a good relationship. So when his son told him that they're going to file a case, he said, son, you have to know the truth before you could do anything. I mean, of course, any parent would just, they cannot believe if something like that happens to them. So he didn't believe, and he said, you have to know the truth. Very calmly, he said that this is what happened when I was in Iraq. This woman here helped me, and now she has been through a lot, and this is the least I can do. So do you agree? The son here said that makes sense. I mean, the father didn't do anything wrong. He was just helping the woman who actually helped him, saved his life. So now he said that I'm almost 60, and he gave his wife divorce, and he said that you're not worth my trust because I was loyal to you, but I did send the money to her to help her because I knew that you're not going to understand. Maybe you'll be jealous. Maybe you'll say, no, don't do it. But I thought it was the right thing to do, and I have given you more than what I have sent. So I thought you wouldn't complain. But she did complain. And that was the reason they were divorced. After he had given divorce, of course, the children were with him. His kids got married. And then when he was almost 60, he decided to go to Sweden. He went to Sweden, and then he got married to Farah. Farah at that time was almost 37. And that's it. This is the end of the story. Thank you for listening, and please do not forget to subscribe. Thank you.